Hello, welcome to Brainbox Notion and welcome to this CostX Dimension Group Mastery course. So let's look at the course overview before we begin. The course provides a depth practical understanding of CostX Dimension Group, enabling participants to create accurate, automated, and repeatable takeoffs. So it focuses on real QS workflow, best practices, and common mistakes with hands-on exercises using 2D drawings. So the target audience are quantity surveyors, estimators, cost engineers, BIM/CostX users, and so on. So the cost level is beginner to advanced. The software is CostX, which you already know. And the learning outcomes are as follows. By the end of this course, participants will be able to understand how Dimension Group drive automation in CostX, create logical and reusable dimension structures, apply formulas, variables, and custom quantities effectively, link dimension groups to workbook and reports, reduce takeoff time and errors by over 80 to 60%. Build professional CostX template using dimension group, or you also know how to share your dimension group with your colleague or team members. So let's dive into the course. So for you to be here, you must have a basic understanding on how X works. So we are just going to go briefly on the interface of the CostX. So here is the first window you are going to see when you open your CostX. You can see I have all my projects, I have all my buildings and everything here. So I know you know the basics, so I'm going to skip most of this and then move to create new building. So I'm going to call this CostX dimension group mastery. So the building code, I'll give it CBEM. Doesn't matter what you put, so I'm going to leave this to be default. And then here you can see we have what we call the standard dimension group, which we are going to explain everything in details. So these are all my standard dimension group. So I'm not going to import any of them now. So I'm just going to insert first. So here we are in CostX. So before you can use anything within CostX, you need to import a drawing. So I'm going to import a drawing to give us the ability to create the dimension group and also test our dimension group. So I'm going to click on add drawings. Change the unit of measurement to meters and then click OK. So we have our drawing being imported. You can see with this, we have the ability to check whatever we have here and then use them. So our concentration is not going to be on this because for you to be here, I know you know the basics of how to use CostX. So I'm going to go straight to our course. I'm not going to bother much about the beginner and the interface much. So here we have the dimension group, which I'm going to click on add. So let's talk about the component of this dimension group. So basically, the dimension group here, we have the properties, which contains the name, the folder, the measurement type, the default display, the default multiplier, the default width, the default height, the default offset, the add to gross flow area, the positive dimension color, the negative dimension color, and so on. So you can switch the colors, but I'm going to leave it as default. Green for the positive and red for the negative. I think this is okay. Then the weight unit of measurement, we can change it also within here. Measurement, you can see here for the weight, we have it in kg, pound, and so on. So this is all about the properties. So the next is the custom quantities, which the custom quantity basically gives you the ability to have a sub quantities whenever you are creating your dimension group. So we are going to create a sub custom quantity. The custom quantity needs to have relationship with the parent dimension. Let's say, for example, now you want to measure uh, concrete work. So let's say if you want to measure for example, let's look at lintel. If you want to measure lintel, we have the concrete, we have the formwork, and we have the reinforcement. So you can see these are items that are related with the parent. So when we get to the creation of the custom quantity, you will understand better. So you cannot, let's say for example, you want to create for the lintel, and then you link your lintel with maybe beam, for example, or maybe you link your lintel with your reinforcement in column, or you link your lintel with reinforcement in beams, and so on. So basically, it needs to have a relationship and link before you create any custom quantity. So the next is the variable. The variables helps you modify your input. Let's say, for example, here you can see we have some default width, we have some default height, we have some default offset. So with the help of the variable, you are going to have your own custom input or fields for you to fill in some necessary information in order to perform that quantity takeoff. So the next is the beam dimensions. So under the beam dimension, which is basically for 3D model, 3D quantity takeoff. So our course is basically on 2D, but whatever you create using 2D, the same logic applies to the 3D quantity takeoff, just a few difference. So here you can see we have the name, we have the multiplier, we have the count, we have the length, we have the width, the height, the offset. So these are all default, so you can easily change them. We have the area, you can see here, we have the wall area, we have the volume, we have the weight. So whatever you have here, this is where the magic and all the adjustment are being made and all the calculations. So I'm going to skip this and move to the measured dimensions. So the measured dimensions is the one that captures the 2D quantity takeoff. So you can see it has a similar item with it. You can see. So here under it, we also have the name. We also have the count. We also have the length. We have the default width. We have the area. We have the wall area. We have the volume, and we have the weight. So these are the default measured dimensions that you can see. So the moment you add any custom quantity here, it is going to it is going to display here too for you to customize it. So let's say, for example, I want to add a custom quantity. I'll call it TG. Click OK and give it a unit of measurement, meters, and then go to my measured dimension. You can see I have my new custom quantity, which is called TG. So I'm going to go back and then delete this and then go back. So before we start creating our dimension group, let me show you one thing. You can see this three dot here. The moment I click on this three dot, it will take you to what we call the dimension group expression editor. So here is the field here. You can see here we have the field. So this shows you the area you are within the dimension group expression editor. So I can switch the field from here. I can click, I can move to count, I can move to wall area, I can move to volume, I can move to weight, and so on. I can then close it. So these are basically what we have here. So you can switch between any of them within the field area. So here is the calculation area, whereby whatever you measured is going to display here. So here we have the dimension fields, we have the dimension group fields, we have the custom quantities, we have the constant, we have the functions, we have the properties, and we have the variables. So we are going to talk about each one of them. So I'm going to close this. I'm also going to close this. So before we start creating our dimension group and explaining how the dimension group works, the basic knowledge required is manual takeoff. So if you are familiar with your manual takeoff, you know how to do your manual takeoff, creating a dimension group is going to be very, very easy for you. So let's start creating our dimension group. So we are going to use the takeoff steps to create some dimension groups for this training course, to explain and create some dimension groups. So here I'm going to click on new dimension group. So I'm going to create a very basic dimension group. So here I'm going to create a set clearance. You can see I have that clearance being created already in my standard dimension group. Then click set clearance 2. Then for the folder, I'm going to add it in a folder called standard. Sorry, standard. So here you can see we have the measurement type, which is area, and the default display. So what this basically means is the measurement type is what I'm going to measure. You can see I have count, I have length, I have volume. Then the default display is going to be what do you want is going to be the default display is going to be the output of the result. I can measure my area and then display my output to be in volume. For example, concrete. So if you want to measure concrete, you are going to measure the area. So it is going to multiply by your thickness and then give you your result in volume. So basically that is the default display. So the default display talks about the output, while the measurement type talks about what to measure. Am I measuring the area? Am I measuring the count? Am I measuring the length? Am I measuring the volume? So for this set clearance, I'm going to have my measurement type to be area, my default display to also be area. So here we have the default multiplier. So this is more of a multiplication. When you want to multiply your dimension with a certain figure, maybe you are measuring uh, doors or windows, you can have the multiplier. You want to measure one and then multiply by the total number. So you can use the default multiplier. And you can also apply this default multiplier after you've created your dimension group. I'll show you also how to do that. So I'm going to click on insert, change this to meters, and then update. So here you can see after making this adjustment, you can see all of my quantities change from square foot to meter cube to square meter, from square foot to square meter. So I'm going to click on update. So you can see here we just created a simple and default dimension group without any custom quantity or field. So I'm going to click on update. I'm going to test this. So before I can test this, I need to scale my page, which I think you can see the scale has been applied. And just measure. And then click on exact. So you can see I've measured my site area, and it is 14764.99 square meter. And you can see by default I have my length and I have my count. So what this length means is like it's like a custom quantity too. You can see it shows the length to be 602.81. So let's go back, and this is the length and this is the count. So this is the wall area and this is the volume. So the reason why the wall area, the volume did not display is that the wall area says length multiplied by height, and our height is 0. So anything multiplied by 0 is going to be 0. So that is why we don't have our wall area and we don't have our uh, volume. So the moment I click on this default and now maybe put in 1 here and then update. So you can see I have my wall area and I have my volume also being displayed. So the reason why they did not display is because of the 0. So I'm going to double click, go back to this, and then make this 0, and then make it default, and then update. Yes. So you can see I have my area, I have my length, and I have my count. So that is basically what I wanted to do. So these are the basics. So the next is we can try creating another dimension group. I'm going to call this GAT. Same, but I'm going to change this to length and then everything. Then I'll click on insert. So you can see I can use the point mode to measure. Click on shift control. You can see I have my GAT to be 605. So basically these are the basics and this is the introduction of the course. So in the next video, we are going to talk about the custom quantities.